Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to GuildCast 15 from March 22nd, 2012. You're watching Gamebreaker TV, and I'm Mike Schaffnit. Today, microtransactions. We've got all the juicy juicy details and controversy. And PC Gamer got their hands on a high-level dungeon, all that and more, plus your viewer questions. But first, it's like a whole new cast here. We've got Scott Hawks.
Hello.
The one and only. Scott, how's it going?
It's going well.
Just throwing this out there now and early, you know. Dark Age of Camelot did do the 3 factions first. So we've got the ground rules covered. So no one can yell at you anymore because you know this. And we're covered. And we're good. We're good.
I'm glad we've got that clear.
We've got it, just had to get it out of the way right at the beginning. And of course we've got a brand new face here with us, Richie Procopio? Procopio.
That's right. Procopio.
Richie,
yep.
how's it going? How's it going?
I'm doing great. Honored to be on the show.
Excellent.
Big fan.
Here we go. Ready? Let's talk some Guild
Let's do
Wars.
it. All right.
So getting right into it. Shockingly, Guild Wars 2, a game without a subscription, is gonna have microtransactions. Can you believe it? Did anyone see this coming? I was completely blown away. What about you guys? Did you think microtransactions?
Totally shocked.
I know, right? All right. Seriously, ArenaNet's Mike O'Brien put up a blog this week to talk about the microtransactions, and here's what he had to say about ArenaNet's philosophy on all of them. So first off, we think players should have the opportunity to spend money on items that provide visual distinction and offer more ways to express themselves. They should also be able to spend money on account services and on time-saving convenience items. But it's never okay for the players to buy a game and not be able to enjoy what they paid for without our additional purchases. And it's never okay for players who spend money to have an unfair advantage over players who spend time. So no real surprises here. I think, you know, it's very much what we expected. Very sensible of a philosophy here. Most players are happy with the fact that it's, you know, you're looking at an item, you can either buy it outright or you can just spend a little bit of time. Would you guys agree with that?
No, it's terrible. You should burn the entire thing down. It's just it's to me it seems very sensible. I know this. It's incredibly contentious an issue. I understand why people, when they see the idea of gold selling, is got so many negative connotations, so many difficult sort of issues to do with it. But from the way they've set themselves out, they're not going to put something in the game to destroy it. And to me, the way they've explained it to start with, it seems sensible.
Absolutely. I mean, you know that the company is going to come out with some sort of way to make, you know, additional revenue after the game launches. You know, you got to have your money over time. So it's great that they came right out and said, you know, it's going to be for players to, you know, add different cosmetic type items and items of convenience. So I think their philosophy is right on hit the nail on the head.
Well, all right, so here's where things get a little bit interesting, though, is gems are the currency that you're going to get when you put your credit card down to buy some microtransactions. But you'll actually be able to trade gems to other players for regular in-game currency, i.e. gold. So, you know, controversy, what do you guys think of this system? Like, is this going to cause problems where people who have money are going to be able to exploit and essentially get gold out of it?
I think it's this system exactly that actually causes the whole thing to work. I mean, people, when they see microtransactions or what's going to be in an in-game store, they kind of freak out because they want to say, oh, is this going to be pay to win now? What kind of stuff are they going to store? But the fact that you can actually take in-game gold and trade it to other players for these gems means that the entire population base, whether you want to spend real money or not, has access to these items in some form. So even if they it doesn't matter what they put in this thing, everyone has access to it. So it can't truly be a pay-to-win environment because pay to win means someone has an unfair advantage if you don't want to actually spend any money.
But you only
and I think this is brilliant.
You only have access to these gems when you purchase through currency, right? It's not like you can find these gems in the game. So the only way I could get them if I was in a stage where I was like, I don't want to spend any money, I would have to give you gold to get these gems. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's all the currencies within the system. There isn't like gold isn't being created by it. It's got to come from within the game. Now, what people are worried about is that if you pay for something in the item house, pay for an item that we have no idea what the items are even yet. Their concern is that it's going to give you what's called their unfair advantage. Like, but you're spending money instead of time, and that gives you an advantage. And then one of the first things they said was, no one should have an advantage over spending time in the game by spending money. For a start, if you want to, you can buy anything in there just by earning gold. So time equals money. It's not that money is greater.
Time equals money. Money's the root of all evil.
Yes.
Evil girls. There's some awesome equation there that I was about to recite, but I completely forgot. Essentially, it comes down to girls are the root of all evil. But money is time. I do really, really like that philosophy. I like the fact that, just by spending amount of time, no matter what item is on the microtransaction shop, I can still have access to. I think that's definitely a winning formula for all styles of player. On the other hand,
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, I think what some people feel is a concern is, one, there's not going to be an I-win item in this store. There just isn't going to be. One, you would be crazy to do that. This is where if Gary was here, he would totally step up and say that he just wants to be able to buy that item. Yeah. He wants $1,000 sparkle power.
But also taking that into consideration, because I'm not here to speak for Gary. It is nice to think though that, okay, as Gary said many times before on other episodes, it's an interesting philosophy. It's like, okay, you two are playing, and I want to be able to keep up, but I can't because I'm too busy. So now what I can do to keep up is just simply put forth some extra money, and I can continue doing content with you guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good philosophy.
Right.
Yeah,
you have the people that have tons of extra time and can play the snot out of the game and amass lots and lots of gold, and they might not have any cash, so they can actually use that fortune. There's actually something for them to use their gold on, which is very important for an in-game economy. You want to have these gold sinks. You want gold to continue to be valuable, and they will always be valuable in this system because assuming that they continue to add things into the shop, gems will continue to be valuable, and therefore you have stuff to put your gold on. And if you have a ton of disposable income, like you said, you might have kids, you might have a job, lots of responsibility, but you can come into the game and you can use some of that cash and get some nice shinies.
And it's just a matter of tuning it down, right? So I know a lot of topics of discussion come around the idea if you could buy like an experience buff, like that's happened in other games, if you were able to do that. Now, even if you could, let's say that you buy something that gives you like a 3 or 4 hours advantage for coming of head of someone, and you meet them in WVW. Well, okay, so that means that they might be a little more powerful than you. Fine, but if someone spent just an extra 3 or 4 hours of playtime than you, they will have that same level of advantage. It all comes down to the system balances itself out the further it goes up. The more the community levels up, the less difference it should make between everybody, especially with the sort of horizontal sort of leveling system that there is in Guild Wars 2. You're not going to have those power imbalances, I don't think. Really don't.
What about the fact that, what the rich guy can do instantly, the kid with a parent's credit card can do at the same time? I'm going to get in trouble for that. I know it's not Guild Wars is not the first, model to pick up like this, but hey kids, just grab your parents' credit card and you can buy to win as well.
Mike Schaffner does not speak for Gamebreaker.
I'm like, what are you saying?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Ask your parents.
Mike is very ill.
Confirm every purchase with your parents before you do so. But if you got a credit card, hey, if you're a young adult like me and you got a credit card, I don't care how rich you are. I can keep up with you. Irresponsibility. All right.
right.
But as long as that's true, and, you know, it's a little bit embellished, but as long as that philosophy is true, I think it's pretty much a fair system. Like, no matter how poor you are, you can still keep up with someone with a credit card. It's horrible advice, but it's true. I mean, it's. I think that's what keeps this philosophy. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that's important to factor into the system is the fact that Guild Wars 2 is not going to be a gear-based game like we're used to in like WoW and SWTOR and stuff. You know, they've said many times that once you hit level 80 max level, there's a plateau on your stats. It's not very difficult to get the most powerful items statistically in the game, and you know, a lot of the things that help differentiate yourself from other people are, you know, cosmetic things. You're going to do these dungeons, you're going to do competitive PvP, you're going to do world versus world to get different skins for your armor so you can look different. So if the gear is on a level playing field and it's a skill-based MMO, then even if you can get to max level faster, or even if you can buy boosts that increase the rate that you get any of these currencies like glory or anything like that, at the end of the day, it's not giving you a power advantage. You might get things quicker, might make you look cooler, but you know, this kind of system would not work in a gear-based system like WoW. Imagine being able to spend money and get more valor or anything like that. I mean, it'd be crazy.
Right.
But it works for Guild Wars 2 because it's structured that way.
Well, the way it seems is this: if you're at max level and you're up against anybody, it doesn't matter how much money they've spent. If you've got the greatest skill level, you're going to beat them. So if that's the case, I don't see how there's a big issue. I really don't. I mean, I understand people being worried, and I understand people being concerned because they've seen. But if you're a fan of how ArenaNet seem to have gone along with this so far, and they seem to have made a lot of smart decisions in game design and been impressed with a lot of it, it would be amazing to think that this would be so far off track from the rest of the game that it would be inherently flawed in the way they would implement it.
Yeah.
So
put some trust into them, you know, and I know there's some leaks about some different things that have, you know, might be in the cash shop, might not be, but just realize, you know, it's still in beta. Don't jump to any major conclusions. Let's wait until they announce stuff.
And it's all going to be down to fine-tuning. What's in there, how much effect does it have? They'll be able to watch it happening in beta, make those adjustments. This isn't, you know, I can understand people being concerned. Concern is fine, but it's not time to start, you know, jumping overboard at the moment. It really isn't.
Plus, I mean, let's be honest. If this system wasn't put in the game by ArenaNet, you're going to have illegal gold sellers out there. Yep. What better way to take control of that and pretty much keep the economy in check the way that they want to if they're the ones who sit up and do it? I mean, I can imagine it's going to cut down on the amount of chat that you're going to see in any sort of like trade chat or general chat. And just kind of make the overall community and experience better by just offering this out of the gate themselves.
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of similar to the Diablo 3 approach with the real money auction house. It combats this type of behavior. There's so many of these companies that just leech onto popular MMOs, and they do guild farming, they do gold farming, they do bots, they spam advertisements everywhere, and it just makes a miserable experience. And then there's people that are trying to buy this gold from them. They get scammed, they get their accounts hacked, they get their credit card information stolen, and a lot of time all of this negative consumer experience gets actually, you know, focused towards the game developer, and they're the ones that get blamed, and they're the ones that get all the angst.
Why aren't you stopping this?
Yeah, why aren't you stopping this?
Why?
Exactly. So,
well, how much money does Blizzard spend a year on putting back together accounts? Absolutely. How much money do they spend on just I'm sure it's millions in just dealing with accounts that have been stolen, accounts have been stolen purely to sell everything that's in there, use them. I mean, I know I've been in people with guilds who've logged on and found they've got nothing. Or actually, one person who logged on and found that his character had nothing, but he had 200,000 gold in the bank because they hadn't moved it on to the next person yet. So it's a blight on the gaming industry. Yes, they're out to make money. ArenaNet, of course, are using this to make money. However, it's also a stated principle of this design. It's to minimize the effect that the external RMT industry is going to have on your play experience within the game. And I don't see how that's a negative thing. I just don't.
Yeah, they're going to make money and save money.
Yeah, and I mean, in the end, let's not forget there's no subscription with this game. It kind of you couldn't have a subscription with a game that is even has any form of microtransactions in. Would you guys feel that you could charge a subscription while also having some sort of cash shop like this?
I don't know. Ask Blizzard.
Yeah, I think that this system is built from the ground up because this is the business model that ArenaNet wanted to go for, and it's going to work really well in this model. I think if there was a subscription fee on top of it, I'm not so sure. I don't think so.
So what do you guys think with this whole philosophy? Do you think that it's something that you guys are actually going to put money down on, or do you think that you are going to put the time in? Because it very well easily could be, especially with this style, very well could be a minority of people who actually want to put money in, and I think a lot of especially hardcore MMO players are just going to put the time in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Richie.
Sorry. I say it's a wait and see. You know, it depends. I'm planning on playing the game a whole lot, and if I have a lot of disposable gold in there, I'll buy the gems. But I have no problem reaching into my wallet and throwing money at the screen to support ArenaNet and all that stuff. I mean, I love the shinies, and I will microtransact.
Scott, what about you? You gonna throw down for microtransactions?
I'm a trade skill nerd, and I like making gold by making stuff to sell for.
You also play the auction house.
A bit.
You can go to hell. I hate people like you. All right, continue. Sorry, continue. A little inner angst.
To be honest, I'd be unlikely to. But I have no problem with anybody who would within that system. So I honestly don't think I'll be somebody who's going to do that. Now my wife wants to play, and let's put it this way: the amount of money we spent on various mounts over the last 3 years.
So it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I won't. It won't for me, but it'll happen.
But whether in your household, ArenaNet will be getting some form of cash payment.
Of course not mounting. Yeah, of course not mounting Guild Wars 2.
See, that's what I was just with this young adolescent kid or wife. She's gonna hold on to your credit card. That's all I'm saying.
That's right.
It doesn't just take a kid to grab that credit card and go plug it in. Viewers, let us know what you guys think. What are you guys gonna do with microtransactions? Are you gonna participate in them, or would you rather spend the time to get the items? Leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you guys. And let us know what you guys are going to be doing with that. So moving on here, the latest episode of PC Gamer has had a sneak peek of the Twilight Arbor dungeon. It's a level 50 dungeon near the Sylvari starting area, focused on fighting the Nightmare Court with the help of someone called Kath? Kaith. Can anyone help me from a lore standpoint here? What's the Nightmare Court?
Well, the Nightmare Court is, it's hard to explain, but basically the Sylvari are born from a tree, a pale tree, and while they're just seedlings are waiting to be born from this thing, they are involved in something called the Dream of Dreams, which is kind of like this collective consciousness. And so every Sylvari that's born actually comes out full grown and with memories and stuff from the collective, so they know how to speak and they know how to fight and stuff like that. But part of this dream is also negative and nightmarish, and there are glimpses of those different things. So the Nightmare Court is really bent on trying to corrupt the Pale Tree, so there's more of this nightmarish focus going on, and they want to really establish the identity of the Sylvari in this manner, in this kind of evil manner, rather than the teachings of the Ventari tablet, which were left by the tree for the Sylvari discovered by a centaur. So they're kind of like the evil faction of Sylvari.
All right. Go ahead, Scott.
Sorry, they're like a sort of a psychological metaphor for the human mind. Basically, you've got your conscious good person, and then in the background you've got all those evil thoughts, and that's where they come out from.
Yeah. Do we know who Kaith is and how he or she is going to be playing into this?
Yeah. Kate is one of the 5 main characters. There's one for each race. They are the former guild members of Destiny's Edge, and the players will interact with them fairly quickly in the opening areas. She's also one of the main characters of the Edge of Destiny novel. So yeah, she's one of the firstborn of Sylvari. So the 12 Sylvari that were born from the tree first. This whole race is only about 25 years old. Brand new race to the Guild Wars canon. And yeah, so she's one of the first born Sylvari.
So
Destiny's Edge, you like Destiny's Edge, you like your Magnificent Seven type going out there, all coming together to sort out, and they've kind of they fought the great fight and they've kind of split up a bit, and as part of the dungeons, there's going to be an ongoing story of sort of like bringing them all back together and fighting this big threat again.
We got to get the band back together.
So what you're telling me is that I've just ticked off Guild Wars fans for not knowing that, since it seems very indigenous to what it is. I took your hate, Scott. I took your hate. They're now on me now. It's okay.
Yay! Hey man, you could have just said I knew all that. I just needed to ask the question.
I had to pose that question to get an answer out. That's all it was, guys. That's all it was.
Right.
All right, so explorable mode will have 3 paths to choose from, and there's about 10 random events that can happen in this dungeon. Anything from hidden chests to surprisingly stealthy giant troll ambushing you. That's a variety of things. Like,
I'd rather have the chest.
I'd rather have the chest too, but I mean, that really shows you the scale of all the different things that are going to happen. Everyone seems to really be drooling over ArenaNet's dynamic open world, but it's great to see them continuing that, with dungeons, isn't it?
Yeah, dungeons. To me, dungeons are probably the thing that's not true. There's about 15 other things I like as well, but I just sound like such a fanboy.
You're not a fanboy. Really, you don't like Dark Age of Camelot.
No, hey, I've got nothing against Dark Age of Camelot. Don't get them started.
More people.
all right, I'm done.
No, but with Dungeons, I've got this thing where I've spoke at length to the point of people throwing things at me to tell me to shut up, that I like challenging dungeons and I like variety in dungeons. I like dungeons that have got atmosphere and they've got tension and they've got something different. And every time we find something more about the different dungeons in Guild Wars 2, they seem to have all of that. And looking forward to it.
Yeah, we don't need any more trash boss. I mean, just having random elements in the dungeon itself is just going to be awesome.
It's especially compounded on that when we all know how MMOs work. You get to max level, you run these dungeons over and over and over, and it just starts to get so repetitive that it's nice to see a little bit of dynamicness, flavor to it. It's great to see ArenaNet's actually attempting to keep it fresh and different over multiple playthroughs.
The phrase I often use when it comes to a lot of dungeons that you see in MMOs is it's the unconscious line dance. Basically, you take 2 steps to the left and then 2 steps to the right, and then you pick up your loot and then you walk off. And I'm bored senseless with those. I want to have personality in the dungeons and also with the people I'm with. I don't like doing dungeons with people who I don't care about who they are, what they say, what they can do, as long as they do exactly. Everybody, when it comes down to such a fine art.
But Scott, I got like realm first. My guild's the best, man. We're so good. Let's pull. You're wasting time.
You're doing it wrong.
Oh, great. Now, after you've finished that, after 3 weeks, what are you going to do for the rest of the year? I understand that I don't mean to knock that. I appreciate that sort of like competitive edge, and I've got a lot of respect for people who have really got that fine-tuned ability in like raids and dungeons. It's fantastic.
No,
but the problem is
you don't care about
dungeons that challenge you in a different way, perhaps each time you go in, and then it doesn't become a monotonous grind.
What about the fact that it seems like ArenaNet's trying to get back to the like, hey, let's run this dungeon because it's fun and exciting, as opposed to, hey, let's go run this place because that sword didn't drop and I need it. And then as soon as it drops for me, you're SOL because I don't want to go to this place anymore.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole gear grind thing. There's no gear treadmill. A lot of the stuff that you're going to be getting from dungeons, everyone gets loot from the boss loot chests. You don't have to compete over it. Everyone gets their own loot, and you also earn currency in there that you can spend on the karma vendors that are outside. So there's a unique set of armor and unique weapons that look like it belongs in that dungeon, and so there is no real drive to grind it over and over again for the loot, but you do want to explore it because there's the story mode. And then there's 3 different explorable modes per dungeon, which take you slightly different paths. You see slightly different things, and there's on top of that, they have the random events, random puzzles, random traps, all that kind of stuff. It's great.
I think it's a perfect example. I remember the Mechanar in World of Warcraft, and I ran that thing so many times to get a sword. Like I ran it so many times to get that piece that I wanted. I'm pretty sure that was it anyway. And I hated the dungeon. When I first played it a few times, I liked it. But when I'd had to run it 17 times in a row to try and just get that drop and it didn't come, I detested the place. As soon as I got that piece of loot, never went back again because I don't want to know about the place. Because I'm not there to enjoy the experience. I'm there just for the end product. And if once you have your end product, why go again?
Well, and we're obviously going to be going back. There's going to be various traps throughout dungeons, as well as a room filled with plant cannons. That's going to need some strategy getting past. Plant cannons, huh? The most feared cannons of all. Boom, flower.
Boom, flower.
Boom, flower.
Hey, if it fires I don't know, cabbage at you.
This is the best thing I could come up with. A paper towel and a pen. I did that for you guys, and I completely botched the line and actually said flower. I fail at being Darnell.
Boom, flower.
Boom, flower. Boom, flower. I said that like the whitest kid you know skit right there.
Boom, flower.
Boom, flower. All right. Are you guys a fan of puzzles and dungeons, though? I mean, if only so that you control your friends on the first time through. Oh, dude, go run through that. No. Just get to the other side of the room, and then boom, they get hit by the trap. That's hilarious. That's fun. You guys excited about that? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna mess with my friends so bad.
Yeah, the more things they put in to break up the monotony, the better. I mean, sure, after you've experienced it once or twice, some things will be old hat. But if with 10 random things and 3 different ways that you can actually, order the dungeon with the different explorable modes, it's going to be harder and take longer for it to get old. It still can get old. It's not perfect. It's not it's not going to solve that issue completely, but it should take a whole lot longer than just running Mechanar, which is the exact same every time you do it.
All right, so what about this? There's a dungeon with a cave area that has a lake so large they're saying it would take you 5 to 10 minutes to run around. First off, I love that scale. I'm so mad that dungeons themselves are going in smaller, shorter bursts. I like larger dungeons. They give you a sense of scope. I really like that. On top of that, though, in this ginormous lake, there's a giant fish who wants to eat you. So awesome. I could scare the ever-living crap out of my sister. Hey, go for a swim. Just play my character, go for a swim, it's gonna be great, and then a fish just comes out of nowhere and just eats her whole.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Did your
How
sister
cool
have
is
a problem
that?
with fish?
What's that?
Did your sister have a problem with fish?
No, but they have a problem with underwater zones, like even dating back to like Mario. So little family thing. They couldn't play those. They always made me play those levels, but it sounds really cool, the amount of scale that some of these dungeons have. I mean, if you can be swallowed by an entire fish, now I don't know, is that a boss or is that just an event? That's a fish.
It's a mini boss. It's a mini boss. The article actually went into a lot of detail on this. They said that the underwater section of this lake is so massive that you could actually spend about an hour exploring it. And there's no bosses, you don't need to, but there's all these nooks and crannies with these hidden treasures, hidden different things in there, and the big fish mini boss in there. And it's just great. It's something that you can do, but you don't have to do. And it takes advantage of all the work they put into having this underwater combat system. I mean, you get different weapons, your abilities all change. And I like the fact that they threw this in like a normal dungeon, so there's an underwater portion to it, rather than just saying, here's an entire dungeon underwater. Now you're going to be underwater for the next hour.
Or, yeah, I mean, what if you were to like, hey, dungeon, and then all of a sudden, oh no, the dungeon's flooded, and for the next 3 bosses, we have to kill underwater and swim our way through. It's nice to see it's optional.
I think it's one of the phrases that I unfortunately have to keep using. One of my favourite things about Guild Wars 2 is that they put so much effort in making the environment such a part of your gaming and experience, and not in the sense of, okay, we need them to go through this and it'll come into this mob, but more, right, let's give them a absolute world to get lost in. And I love that about MMOs. It's one of the things that got me into the genre more than anything, is the idea that you have this entire world that you can find things in that nobody else has maybe seen yet, and actually like have an adventure in just avoiding the beaten path and going out and just, oh, well, that looks cool, or whatever. I mean, Gary talked about that when he played it. It took him ages just to get around to doing any fighting or questing. 'Cause he was like, oh, look at this, and oh, look at that, and running around and just seeing things. To have that even in the dungeons, that even in the dungeon you've got so much to explore, so much to find, and just look at how much work they've put into the detail. I just think that's fantastic.
On the reverse side of that, though, I mean, what's going to happen in pickup groups? I mean, aren't you going to get mad if you're just trying to get through a dungeon, and, you know, even if it's not for the gear, you just want to get through it, but then you got, you know, Sally Two Toes taking a stroll in the lake because she wants to go pick flowers. Like, that's going to get annoying.
Sally Two Toes.
Sally Two Toes. She has two toes.
She has some real trouble swimming. Then she's going to take a long time getting around.
Exactly, and I got to
is.
wait for her, and then she's got to dry off.
Yeah, I hope those toes are webbed. Yeah.
But the anecdote aside, the point still stands. I mean, isn't that going to make people upset? Is having to wait for those random people who, you know, Scott, you talked about how the fact you do like to do dungeons with people you know. What about doing dungeons with people you don't know, who aren't going to listen to you, who you can't control?
Well, that's true. I mean, if you're going to go along, then if you're in a pickup group, well, what it comes down to this is, what is the expectation set out for you in the dungeon? Is the dungeon something that's going to encourage that sort of now faster, get it done quick, get it over, and get out of here sort of mentality, that end result sort of gameplay? Yeah. If that is the case in those dungeons, then yes, that's going to be an issue with pickup groups, because people are going to be like, look, I'm only here to get that thing at the end. And so all of you guys are, like, you know, having fun playing with traps or looking for stuff or all the rest of it. I don't want to know about that. I'm not so sure that these dungeons are aimed at that at all, and some people might have to have experiences that they're not kind of used to coming from other games in this, and it might be almost like a gameplay, almost a re-education in some ways. But I think those experiences are available in the sort of events outside dungeons more, but they're also in the story mode. The story mode's isn't that challenging, isn't it, initially? So it means that it's not going to be that tough to get through.
Other games actually, you know, they kind of entice you to get through it as fast as possible. You know, oh, I gotta get my daily done. I've got to get my Valor points for the day. I've got to get this for the day, and you get that as you kill the last boss. And so, you know, you want to skip bosses. You want to get through it as quickly as possible. You know, there doesn't seem to be any kind of like carrot in that matter that actually, you know, rewards you for just getting through it quickly. So, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people that want to skip things. There's going to be, you know, especially, you know, after the game's been released for 6-7 months, you go through that dungeon. Yeah, let's skip the lake. Let's go around the lake. We don't need that big fish. That's going to happen. You can't stop that. But I think it's not being designed, you know, to, you know, for that end thing.
And also we're taking it from the concept that people who prefer to do pickup groups, that's something that I think has become like a dominant play style, because simply that's the sort of path of least resistance to the end goal. What I'm hoping more than anything, and again, this is because of how long I've been playing MMOs and how much I like the original idea of a guild being important and you doing things with people within a social group, or the actual game itself creating social groups, is that it will encourage more sort of cooperative gameplay and you spending time enjoying yourself in an experience with people that are at least like-minded to the point that they enjoy playing the game in the same way. I like the idea that it encourages that, not that it sort of penalizes you for wanting to just get in there and play through a dungeon, but more, hey, maybe it is better if you go through this with a guild at times. I don't think that's a terrible thing. I really don't.
All right. Well, we'll obviously see. We've got a press beta going on this weekend, right? So I'm sure we'll get a little bit more information. No.
Nope.
Oh. Okay. Well, we'll get more information as it comes in, and then we'll be sure to report
Whenever.
it right here when it comes out. Real quick, I just want to say thank you everybody who has donated to Gamebreaker TV. Your guys' donation helps us keep this place running. Thank you so much. If you haven't considered, please consider a donation. Hit that button up there. 1, 10, 20, 30, 50 million dollars. We really appreciate it. So please consider. But moving on, viewer questions here. So first up, Andrew Sikorsky. He wants to know, what does a Sylvari eat? Is it it's a plant, right? So does it eat fertilizer or sunlight or what? Do we
Yeah.
do we have a real answer before we start throwing out snappy little quips?
I do have a real answer.
All right.
Reese Osby was interviewed and asked this question. She's confirmed that even though they have very different insides than humans do, they do in fact eat and drink meat and vegetables and fruit and all that stuff. They can actually consume alcohol and get tipsy as well. So it's not as exotic or interesting of an answer as you might hope.
Sounds like a cop-out.
They can eat boom flowers.
There we go. There we go. Scott,
They're a delicacy.
Scott, you got any jokes since we have the real answer now?
Miracle Grow. What else? I don't know.
Photosynthesis.
Yeah, they photosynthesize. I tell you what, on a sunny day, oh dear, the indigestion they get, it's awful.
Oh man, so bad. All right, next up here, Tony Vu wants to know, there is a dye system for armor, but none of the weapons currently. Would ArenaNet extend the dyeing system towards weapons for people who enjoy customizing everything?
You're going to have emblems on your weapons. You're going to have all sorts of things you're going to be able to customize your weapons with. And I don't know. I always worry when you start applying that to weapons, when you start seeing some really, people trying to make lightsabers and stuff like that. It kind of breaks the sort of feel of the game, perhaps, for me. But
they allowed it in Guild Wars 1. You can dye some of the weapons. So it's interesting that they've come out specifically and said it will not be in Guild Wars 2. So I don't know if it was a technical issue or just a design choice. They didn't like how it worked out in Guild Wars 1. But I mean, it's possible they'll add it, but I wouldn't hold my breath for that.
Can't I just make my giant purple staff purple?
moving on.
Next question.
Wow.
Aaron Walasek. What playstyle do you most see yourself designing for your main character around? I.e., I personally plan to make a necro that specializes in life stealing and utilizing Death Shroud as a group support and mitigation. That's pretty detailed. What about you, Scott? You got any pre-plans here?
I want to make a Guardian who has, well, Guardians are suited to anyway, but I'm a tank by playstyle, so this is going to be really interesting for me, playing Guild Wars. But I'm an old school EQ pally at heart, so the idea of being a support, but also having sort of control over an area, using some of the abilities that a Guardian has to sort of move opposition around, create barriers in the way, buff from behind with defenses on your allies, and then moving in, causing damage, but also being able to put defenses around yourself. I'm looking forward to that. So it's basically showing that kind of defensive sort of playstyle, but within a much more sort of 360-degree awareness of what's going on in your environment and the people around you. So looking forward to that.
Richie?
Yeah, it's tough because I don't know. Every time I'm asked, like, what am I going to play? Like, there's so much I'm interested in playing. It's uncanny. But typically, when I like to break molds. Right now I'm kind of looking at the warrior a little bit, and everyone's talking about the greatsword and how much AOE damage and how much mobility it has. But I like to find the things that work for my play style that no one else is really doing. So I might try to all right, let me pick up this mace in one hand and the war horn in the other, and see if I can make these two things work. Surprise people with stuff they don't normally see. So that's kind of how I would approach it.
Yeah, for me, I like to, in almost every new game, RPG, MMO that I start in, I usually like to go pretty easy and start with a warrior-style class just because I feel like I know how it's supposed to play. Much more recently, though, I've started to really enjoy hybridized specs. So I can't really stay for sure because I want to be able to get in and play and see what really kind of fits my play style of where I like to stay between a balance of DPS and healing. So I'm going to have to really kind of figure it out and play around with it. And unfortunately, I haven't been in a press beta yet, so I don't know. Next up, Alicia Monique Nielsen wants to know, how noob-friendly do you think the game will be? Looking at profession skill videos makes me think that classes like the Elementalist will be very difficult for someone new to MMOs to grasp, considering each class has different skills for every weapon they equip, and in the Elementalist's case, there are also 4 different elements. Oh, that was the end of the sentence, and I was going to continue reading. So what do you guys think? I mean, it's an interesting point. The other games that you know, you got your abilities on your bars. You remember everything, where everything's at. You keybind everything. In Guild Wars, it changes your bars. Basically, you get a whole new set of abilities. Any concerns?
I think that what you'll be able to do is, I commented this on an article a while back, is that if you just want to pick up and go and mash buttons, it'll actually do something pretty much. You know, you're going to be effective to a certain degree. So I don't think that if you just want to play initially and just get a feel for it, you're going to have options there that are not going to be too complicated. Now, when you start to master it, which is going to be the real challenge, you'll be able to pick it up and play easy enough, but mastering it is going to be a challenge. So you're going to learn when to switch weapons, what those abilities are going to give you in different circumstances, when's the best circumstance to use those, and the timing and all the rest of it. So I think from what we've seen so far, to start off with, it's going to be pretty easy to pick up and very sort of straightforward, and you earn those abilities over time. So you're not going to be sort of drowned in all options to start with. But the more you learn, there's going to be more there for you to really exploit.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. It's going to be one of those, you know, easy to pick up and difficult to master type things. You know, you know, the Elementalist example, they have 4 different attunements, so the different elements that they can switch to. But they have less weapon choice. So and then the warrior doesn't have the different attunements, but they have tons of different weapons they can use. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, there's a lot of skills there. But if you stick to just one, let's say you start off the game with a sword and shield, you will unlock those 5 abilities. And then you'll eventually fill in your elite skill and your healing skill and your other skills. But really, you will have just that action bar, and you can stay like that and get through a lot of the game. If you want to be highly competitive in PvP or do some of these explorable mode dungeons, then that's really where you're going to be. All right, I need to be able to weapon swap into different sets, or I know all 4 attunements, and that's when it's going to get complicated. And so there's a lot of depth there for the players that really want to go into that, and I think new players will be able to pick it up as well.
All right, next up, Timothy Lochner says, ArenaNet has mentioned, albeit that doesn't mean much, but new professions with new expansions that take place in Cantha and Alona. What professions would you expect or wish to see in these expansions? Would you expect to see the return or homage of Guild Wars 1 professions like the Ritualist or the Dervish?
That's an interesting question because each one of those campaigns added 2 new professions to the game in Guild Wars 1, and it seems like parts of each of those have been melded into some of the Guild Wars professions. Like, for example, there's an assassin in Guild Wars 1, and there was no thief, but now the thief kind of has taken on that kit, that archetype. I wouldn't say that there's room for an assassin and a thief necessarily. They're both sneaky, both melee combatants, short blades and that kind of stuff. But a lot of them, like even like the Ritualist, which is very, very popular, they're much into summoning spirits and different things. Some of their abilities you can kind of attribute to what the new Mesmer looks like. Some of the Mesmer illusions that they summon, it kind of has a similar type feel. So I'm not sure if they would really bring any of those. The Paragon's kind of like the Guardian. The Dervish is scythe wielding, and they do like wind and earth magic and stuff like that. So maybe the Dervish. I'm also thinking the Monk, because the Monk was a big class in Guild Wars 1, and I think they purposely left it off for Guild Wars 2 because it was associated with being a healing class, and they kind of want to break that whole stereotype. So I think it was a good idea for them to do that with the whole Trinity debate. But maybe further down the life cycle of the game, once people understand how it works, maybe they can introduce the Monk, because it kind of has that Asian influence, which Cantha is very Asian influenced. So maybe a Monk. I'll go with
Scott,
monk.
you got any thoughts?
I agree completely with that. By introducing the monk later, what they do is they get players who are coming out from Guild Wars 1 used to the different sort of style that Guild Wars 2 is going to have. And also, I love monks. I think monks are fantastic.
I'll go with panda monks.
That's
Yeah.
oddly conspicuous there. I don't think anyone's going to be able to pull off panda monks.
No, that's
Nah.
crazy.
That's a crazy.
No one would be that ludicrous.
I do think just it adds having a monk gives you a very sort of different visual style and an interesting style of gameplay. And the other thing is now with Guild Wars 2, I mean they've already shown the sort of can amalgamate the professions and make something new. Who knows where they can go? They could come up with just something completely different as they go along.
What about the minstrel?
Really exciting.
The minstrel. That was going to be the best joke ever.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that when they posted that on the?
I did not.
Instead of the Mesmer announcement, they put up a minstrel, and he was like singing very awkwardly, and it was pretty funny. It's a good joke.
All right, next up, TJ Vosas. I apologize.
Vosas.
TJ wants to know, I'm aware that PvE content will scale your character down to meet the environments. My question is, will my character scale up if I got to a higher level area? I don't think this would be a good idea, because then what's the point of leveling?
Well, you actually can do this.
Really?
Yeah, you can do this. Now, the way it works, if you're scaling down, it kind of happens automatically to you. But if you want to scale up and do a higher level zone, you have to have somebody in your group that actually sidekicks you up actively. And then then you can kind of do that content with you. Now, you're still not going to have skills unlocked that you don't have unlocked. You're not going to have access to traits you don't have access to. So you're still going to be less powerful by a good margin. But you can absolutely do that.
So again, I mean, kind of falling into that play with your friends, even if I'm behind category.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And that's specifically why it's there. I mean, you get a statistical boost, but as Richie said, you haven't got that. It still gives you the fact that when you level up, you actually level up. Then you get to experience the new skills and everything else as you go, and when you really leveled up. So it still gives you you're still encouraged to spend the time to level up and not just sit. I mean, you still get experience as well, so you'll be leveling up as you go. Yeah. But it's that idea that, hey, I want to go play with my friends, but I can't because maybe I'd join the game a month later. That's okay, you can still go ahead anyway. It's that fostering their idea of community within the game, and I think that's just key.
You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to have fun. That's a big thing too. And I was going to say one more quick thing that's awesome about this is if you're sidekicked up, the loot drops for you are still level appropriate to you. And the same thing if you actually go scale down and do some easier content, the loot drops are still at the higher level. So it actually it's always tailored to your level, and so you always get rewarded for experience in the game. It's brilliant.
Well, all I was going to say was I take back, my little bit of snarky snarkicism there. I was completely wrong. So it will actually be there. All right, next up, Jeremy Key wants to know, how well does it play when you're trying to avoid things, or is dodge just some temporary immune mechanic because it couldn't otherwise avoid damage? I think we've talked about this before. I'm going to come out and just throw mine out there. Again, I haven't had a chance to play in the beta, but I think Mike said it's not just like dodge and you're immune. It's literally like collision-based, and it's actually like active dodge. Am I right?
Yep. You need to respond to what's going on. They spent a lot of time designing those visual signifiers to let you know something's going to happen. So you need to respond to it. It's trying to make battles have a lot of immediacy to them as you're playing them, so you actually get excited because I've got to get out of the way quick, rather than I'm standing in something, I need to walk out the way. It's that he's going to swing at me, I've got to duck, it kind of sense, and instead you dodge out the way. That's exactly it. So it's an actual physical avoidance, not a roll on whether you avoid. You need to get out the way of the truck that's coming, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It is an absolute action-y type experience. I mean, they have the tech in place. I mean, the examples of the cross-class combinations where you have like an elementalist put up a wall of fire, and if a ranged class shoots an arrow through it and it hits the mob, it will actually ignite. So they definitely have the positioning tech in place, the collision detection and all that stuff. So dodging is the real deal.
What I love about that cross class as well is it sets on fire to the arrows it goes through the flames. It just looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Forgot I had to mute my microphone there. Another day. Another day complete. GuildCast. That's pretty much it. That's all we got to talk about today. So, Scott, you can follow him right at Jerry Moore. Scott, got any awesome hits coming out on Gamebreaker the next day or so?
Yeah, we got quite a few things coming up, and we'll have some Guild Wars 2 related big stuff coming very soon that we're working on.
Excellent, excellent. Richie, you can follow him at Richie Procopio. That's RICHIEPROCOPIO. See, I did it for you. Now you don't have to tell him. What you got going on, Richie?
I have a YouTube channel. I put out a new video today about Guild Wars 2 microtransactions. The name is Bog Otter, B-O-G Otter. Check me out there.
Do it. Check him out. You can follow
Also
me.
My,
sorry, Richie. No, go ahead.
I'll just say massively.com live streams. Check out the MV guide on massively.com. See when all our hosts are doing the shows.
Yep, go hang out. Definitely awesome live streaming, especially for people like me who cannot play yet. Follow me right at Mike Schaffnitz, legendary Twemo. I'm just on Gamebreaker TV all over the place. Gary is out of the studio, so you guys are stuck with me. Be sure to follow at Gamebreaker TV for all of your gaming news updates, and keep it tuned right here. Another week, another dime, another dollar, another day. Episode 15 done. GuildCast. See you guys next week.